Hello guys, welcome back to Noob Nerd, and as you can see we are doing another ranking video. If you didn't check out my last ranking video about the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, I really appreciate if you did check that out. Like, comment, subscribe on this video and that one. As always, I always appreciate the support, and yeah, I just really enjoyed the last ranking video, so I wanted to try another one, and especially with all the Marvel Netflix shows now ending and the final season of Jessica Jones just ended, and well, a little over a month ago it got released, and that is going to be the final season, not just for Jessica Jones but for Marvel Netflix in general. Just wanted to rank all the shows and all the all the seasons of each show, and just rank them from God tier, basically the best of the best, a good solid flick with little flaws, but some that weigh it down, average, which is like half good half bad, meh, which basically means like forgettable, like it's just boring, you don't really remember much, and then terrible is just plain crap, to be honest. Never would watch it again. Still recording? Yes, I am. Yeah, before I actually go on to do this ranking, I just want to thank my good pal Jake. I think some of you have actually subscribed because of his notifying you as viewers about my channel and go and subscribe to Noob Nerd, and I really appreciate that. He's a good friend, and the link will be in the description if you want to subscribe and check him out. But I just wanted to thank him for that support, and hopefully we can just crack on and just do a good discussion about these shows, because I am sad that these shows are ending, and it is all about this whole battle between Disney Plus and of course the new streaming service by Disney, and of course Netflix, and of course they don't want to associate themselves with them anymore. And yeah, but the video's not about that. Let's just look back on the good stuff, because I think, again, just like with the MCU, I don't think there's going to be many TV shows in this case, not films, but I think more hours of content, so I'm going to try and make this video not as long as the previous one. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be many of these TV shows ranking terrible, to be honest. But no, it's still an interesting debate, still an interesting discussion, and let me know your rankings down below. It's not always going to be the same as my opinion, of course, so remember, this is my opinion, not definitive list. So let's just start from chronological order. Am I still recording? Always paranoid, always paranoid. Just want to make sure I'm getting all this down. So Daredevil Season 1. It's a bit hard. Nah, it's not, is it? Realistically, it's got to, isn't it? Because it's without this, again, sets the stage for everything else to come after it. Such a brilliant slow build, like so quiet, so in such quiet moments, introduces that, just delving deep into a character, but not, of course, it maybe doesn't have the biggest budget, but it just really just delves a character study into not just Matt Murdock. You get to know him through the flashbacks of him with his father, him of course learning with Stick in the flashback, but also just him being a lawyer and just learning to see the grittiness and all the closed spaces of Hell's Kitchen. And even though you get the atmosphere, the dark atmosphere it gets, you understand why Matt Murdock wants to save the city, and you really get really delving into everyone's minds and the tough situation everyone's in. Of course you have Karen Page, who's introduced here as well. That whole story arc when she's trying to find out, basically a mystery, trying to find out what's going on. Why did she get almost framed for a murder? Of course, Foggy Nelson, that interaction and everything. I like how Karen Page is almost like our conduit into their world. Like, she gets involved in this lawyer case, and Matt Murdock arrives. The OG black suit is just a welcome change of pace in the superhero landscape at that time, because it was just, you getting used to just films, fast-paced films, CW shows with the Flash and Arrow, all those kind of feeling samey, not samey, but like different tones, but like they were just all like following one like action sequence. But this was really like, this is why Marvel were willing to put these shows on Netflix, give these darker characters, these more in-depth characters, a chance to shine in a different way, but in a cool way, in a way that you get to spend more time with these characters, into their psyche, and not as much with action, but the action, when they do produce the action, of course we have the hallway scene where it's just like, oh, that's so iconic, man. They copied it 2 seasons after, each season after that they copied it. Even in the Defenders they copied that hallway sequence where Daredevil's just fighting his way through one shot of thugs just coming in left, right and centre within one just straight hallway, man. It's so sick. And of course, who can forget the Kingpin? Vincent D'Onofrio does an excellent job portraying a Kingpin before he becomes the Kingpin, essentially. But of course, the people who wouldn't know about these comics, you just think this is a really cool detective show about a man struggling between what's right and what's wrong in the law. So good, so good. Same goes to Kingpin. Their arcs are between Daredevil and Kingpin are quite similar, but of course opposite as well. They both love the city. They both live the city and they'll do whatever it takes to defend it. But of course, both in quite different ways. If you, from a different point of view, shall we say, Kingpin's so good, man. The him is just such a different kind of villain again, and yeah, there's a reason why they brought him back for the next seasons as well. There's gonna be spoilers in this video. I need to go through them, but if you haven't watched this yet, come on, man, you're missing out on true. Daredevil's is Marvel's Batman, but it's a disservice calling him that, and just comparing him to Batman, because Daredevil's such a great character. I always liked him beforehand. When I found out he was getting a Netflix series ages ago, I was so glad they did it. I'm so glad. What came after Daredevil season 1? Jessica Jones season 1, and again, it's another god tier show. It just is. Yeah, so with Jessica Jones, I'm less familiar with her as a character than Daredevil, so this was a good chance for me to get introduced to a whole new side to Netflix universe and begin branching out into different universes within worlds. Not universes, of course. This is a small scale. This is all small scale stuff. But this was the infancy of everything. Now, instead of a lawyer, you have a private investigator, Jessica Jones. David Tennant, I'm a big fan of Doctor Who. Doctor Who's my favourite show of all time. Seeing him in this show was already going to be enticing me into it, and he does such a spectacular job with the villain. He's both charismatic, but also frightening, not just because of his powers, but the way he uses it, the way you see his manipulation of Jessica through multiple flashbacks, but in the sense that they're all fizzled out. Just you see Jessica's mindscape trying to filter out all the crap that's happened to her in this life. She used to be a happy-go-lucky, trying to do an old-fashioned superhero dig, and then it all goes tits up essentially when she basically gets sexually abused by Kilgrave, played by David Tennant, in which everything he says, the person does, because it's a mind control thing, man. It's mad. I don't want to describe these shows much. I just want to say, just the title sequences of all these shows are really good as well. I always loved it. Jessica Jones' title sequence is my favorite. It's just really good music, and yeah, I of course I need to watch these shows again, because I'm trying to think back all the way to this. Like, when did these Netflix shows start? I think it was 2015. Feels like ages ago, man. It's only 4 years ago. But Jessica Jones, new character, a good female-led superhero without getting too ahead of itself in terms of, like, I don't want to say like, being a female superhero for the sake of being a female superhero. She's not a superhero. But that's what makes it so interesting. Is that makes all these characters so interesting. It's like, that's what makes Jessica Jones the most interesting, because she's trying to stay away from their hero mantra, but she gets pulled into it while also trying to be a private investigator. You see Malcolm, the drug user, her trying to help him in that small-scale heroism, and it's all about like helping the people around you and why you shouldn't push people away. It's really compelling stuff, man. And it's god tier as Daredevil, but you could say it's a bit not as good as Daredevil season 1 in my opinion. When I look back on it, because the ending of Jessica Jones season 1 is a bit laid back, a bit chill. But it is, again, it's a change of pace, and the way they deal with the villain maybe wasn't the best way to go about it, just simply snapping his neck. I think that's what happened. Yeah, Jessica Jones snaps David Tennant's neck. But I love the interactions between them two. Of course, Trish is a good best friend. Maybe not the best here. I think she's better in the future seasons, from what I remember. But of course, we have Hogarth, who's introduced as a lawyer. She's a sensational character as it develops. And yeah, god tier as well. Close. You could put it at good, but no, Jessica Jones for the most part. Every time I think about it, it's so god tier. And of course, you have Luke Cage introduced as well. And you have that interaction is like, she killed Luke Cage's wife, was also under the mind control, how it takes a toll on her. It really is good stuff, man. I think the soundtrack's good as well. So what was next after Jessica Jones season 2? I think it was Daredevil season 2. But we'll move on to Luke Cage just for the sake of just going through each hero. Luke Cage season 1. Am I still recording? Yes, I am. Luke Cage. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I didn't finish the season, man. I didn't finish the season. The start of it was compelling, but as it went on, I was like, I wasn't into the villains too much. Mahershala Ali was technically the main villain for like most of it, apparently, and then by the end they got like a new villain. I think Luke Cage is like half brother or something. But I don't actually remember. I don't actually finished it. This is the only season of Marvel Netflix I didn't finish. Maybe I should, if I really want to have a good reflection of what I think, but I have to say, meh. I have to go for it, man. If I didn't finish it, it's like, that says a lot. And at the start, it was so compelling with like the soundtrack. I think is the best here, because like I love the Harlem feel, the atmosphere. That's so cool. But I think Luke Cage is like, they took too long to like. I think the pacing was a bit off. It went too slow in terms of developing his character. I think he was more interesting in Jessica Jones than in his own first season. I think, from what I remember, in my opinion, obviously. I think, what's her name? The female older actress. I forgot what her name is, to be honest. I think she becomes the actual main villain for season 2 or something like that for Luke Cage. I finished season 2 of Luke Cage, don't worry. I can't really remember what she did. Apparently she kills Cottonmouth, and then she becomes basically like the OG like boss of the whole thing. I like the flashback. I like the like episode where like he becomes like Luke Cage, because of course you find out where his name's actually Carl Lucas, and he broke out of prison and stuff. That was cool. I like that. I like how he meets his wife that got killed by Jessica Jones in prison. And that was some cool scenes there. And I liked sometimes at the start the novelty of Luke Cage just basically just walking into buildings, and like the gang members just can't do anything about it. It really is fun at the start, but it's a novelty that soon wears off, I think. Not just in this season, I think in other seasons as well. Novelty just kind of runs out. But at the start, when it was introduced, it was like so cool to see like just confident Luke Cage. He knows his powers, and he's just gonna walk straight through everyone. But yeah, I have to go, man. It's kind of forgettable. I could put in average, but I didn't finish it. If I finished it, I could just put it back up to average if I liked some of it, what I saw. And yeah, maybe it's not fair, but it's just my feelings, man. It's just my feelings. Yeah, so we move on to Iron Fist season 1. Just moving on to the last defender of all the season 1s, and I finished it. So I mean, it's average. It's average. I think Iron Fist is the most controversial. Season 1 of it is the most negatively received series, I think, out of all the bunch, in terms of like what I see on the internet and stuff like that. But I liked Iron Fist. I think I like the idea of it. I'm always a sucker for like kung fu, like mysticism and stuff like that, supernatural stuff. I'm always a sucker for that. And maybe in some cases they focus more on the law business side of Danny Van's life, and it wasn't as interesting as the mystic side. But I still like some aspects of it, especially what was his name? So sometimes when I forget the name, it just makes it sound like I didn't care. But in this case, I did like. I didn't. It was just like, Danny Van's just trying to prove that he's Danny Van. Is like, I've seen this kind of before. And at the same time, it's like some people arguing, why did they get a white man to play Danny Van? It's like, no, I didn't mind that. I think the actor did as much as he could do, but the writing didn't really help him in terms of like, I'm the Iron Fist. I have to do what needs to be done. But I like in terms of the good stuff that makes it average, that balances out the bad stuff and the good stuff, is I think the action sequences. I think the Drunken Master sequences where Danny Van's going against a Drunken Master, that was some cool interactions there. The characters, some of them are a bit boring, but I think his interactions with let me think, Hogarth, that's good. Of course, forgot her name. the Asian lead. Oh, dude, what am I talking about? How do I not know her name? I forgot her name. I'm so lost, guys. What the hell? What's her name? Danny Rand's love interest, pretty much. But she's not just a love interest. She's so good. Like she is sick, man. She's one of the reasons like it just like elevates the show a bit more. The actress does a good job. It's revealed that she is part of like what's it called? The hands operation. That was so cool. And the cinematography is kind of sick as well when they're fighting in the rain at the end. And no, I liked Iron Fist. And when I to be fair, when I saw, I liked it. I didn't like it as much as the others, definitely. But when I saw such a negative reaction, I understood why I saw that. But I was kind of surprised as well. So I'm just gonna put it average. I can't believe I forgot her name. What's her name? It starts with a C. Cat. I need to search it up. I can't get that out of my head. Iron Fist. Okay, bear with me, lads. Bear with me. Yeah, Jessica Henwick as Colleen Wing. Bloody, how did I not know that? So good, so good. I like how she starts off in like a cage match fighting, trying to earn her money, but just yeah, but then she becomes more integrated with. And I like the idea of like Danny Rand trying to sort out the corruption within his own company, like the drugs and like going through the hand, like the hand actually have a player hand in Rand Industries, and that was cool to see. I think that was interesting, and they brought a new side to the Marvel Netflix, a more supernatural side. Of course, the actual effect of the Iron Fist is so cool itself. So yeah, they could have done a lot more with it, but of course, again, Netflix budget. But average, I'll put it average. Okay, then we move on to Daredevil season 2. Let's move on to that one. Yeah, another god tier one. Arguably not as good as season 1. I think the villain is really there's not really a villain. There's that hand leader. Forgot his name. We do see Kingpin in that prison scene, and again, if he wasn't in that, I probably would have said Daredevil season 2 would be good if that whole like aspect of the Punisher just fighting all those prison criminals with Kingpin alongside him. That was, oh god, that added such a new element to the mix. But there were so many elements in this mix. They tried to really go bigger, better with this season 2, and for the most part it did work. It was god tier stuff. The only thing is like the hand villain, the whole stuff there. I think that could have been so much better. The whole intrigue with all the ninjas integrating into the hospital and all the places. The really sense of stakes were risen, and it was so good to see. And at the end, it kind of fizzled out a bit. But I was so interested in the Elektra relationship with. It was like Elektra, Punisher, Daredevil. It was everything you could want from the comic book series, and just everything that was set up in season 1. But so massively done in one concise season 1, but they just tried to, like, let's up the ante, and I really appreciate the writer's vision and the ambition, and it really is god tier in my opinion. Some people might say it's just good, not as good as season 1, but maybe it's just my comic book loving. And the Punisher, that whole conversation about the ideologies between him and Matt Murdock, so good, probably even better than Civil War. Maybe in that sense it was like a Civil War kind of like ways of handing out justice. That at the start of season 2, it was kind of weird. It was like there was different arcs within this season 2, and in some cases they kind of made each one feel less developed, a bit less developed. But I think they balanced it really well. Mostly, the only caveat was the hand stuff. But the Elektra love interest, that was so cool to see. Like, or seeing about like Matt Murdock's university life and see how like Elektra affected that, like pulling from a simple Easter egg in season 1 where they mention a Greek girl in the university, and then we see that developed here. So good. They got the casting right for most of these characters, for all of these characters actually. Matt Murdock's just really struggling to like decide what kind of hero he wants to be, and how the situation develops and maybe becomes too big for him to handle alone. Really good stuff. it's just the hand stuff at the end that really just kind of pulls it down. But even Electra's death is so emotional because they do all the setup there. Stick again is so good, so funny, so charismatic as a old mentor. Not your typical old mentor, that's for sure. What else? Karen Page again. Yeah, that's Karen Page. I don't really remember her doing much, to be honest. What she should do again? I need to remember back what's going on. Action sequences. This season definitely raises more action sequences. Less small scale than season 1. Definitely more big scale. If that's a word. Oh god. The marketing was mental, man. I was so excited for this, and it lived up to the hype, like 95%, and that's enough for God tier for me. Daredevil's such an interesting character, and just expanding the world. Really, so good. It makes me more excited. Makes me feel more excited as a comic book fan. But when you look back constructively, maybe it wasn't good as season 1, but it's God tier, in my opinion. It really is. So then we move on to the Defenders. Let's move on to the Defenders. And yeah, this was supposed to be like the culmination of all this, like different characters come together. Average, unfortunately. I kind of watched this after I saw the not negative reaction, but like the meh reaction, the disappointment reaction. And I try to keep that in mind, but also like try and just block it out and just be like, just judge it on its own terms. And the interactions between the characters are done so well. The characters are already well casted in each of their roles, so they know how to like if Luke Cage met Daredevil, how would they act? If Luke Cage met Iron Fist, how would they act? Heroes for hire. Obviously, some cool Easter eggs there. It just felt a bit like it was just like. I know it's Netflix, I know it's more smaller scale, but it feels like they could have done something with like they did for like Daredevil season 2, but for Defenders. Like really, it's hard. It really is hard to juggle all these different characters. And I like that one scene when they're all in the dinner table just talking about how they're gonna do this, and some of them are apprehensive, like what's actually going on. Who is these hand people? Because Jessica Jones doesn't know who these ninjas are. Sigourney Weaver is in this, like her presence is always palpable at the start, but at the end he's like, she's just some random chick who gets killed at the end. I think she doesn't get killed by the end of the series. She gets killed like earlier than that. It's like you got to use more of Sigourney Weaver. I think for once they could have used a comic book character to try and like elevate her character a bit more, and just give us something more to do than what was expected. I think that was a bit disappointing as well. I like the contrast between the Defenders though, and all the hand people coming together as well. That was cool. I like that, but I don't think they made the most of it, in my opinion. I think they could have done more with the Jessica and Luke Cage relationship. I think they could have explored that a bit more, but they definitely explored the Luke Cage and Iron Fist relationship. They really set that up well as well. And the Daredevil interactions always. I'm a sucker for Daredevil. He's my favorite, so I like his interactions with everyone. I like the action sequences. There's only one action sequences I kind of rate. The one in like the office in that massive. It all takes place in like one building. The hand operation is like it's a bit anticlimactic. It's just blow up a building. That's it. But I like in the office when they're just all fighting and Daredevil's wearing like a scarf. that's hilarious, but I love it. As like a protective like cover to like protect his identity. Sure. That was interesting. And when Elektra dies, it's like with Daredevil, it just feels like, oh, we're doing this again, and we know Daredevil's gonna come back to life. So yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like even all the side characters to each of the characters are like left to the wayside. I think common criticism with Netflix shows and some of these is that they could have just removed less filler episodes, but for this Defenders they could have done with more episodes actually to flesh out these characters and their relationships, and also the villain as well, as I said before. So yeah, average. It's not the worst in my opinion. But it's not good. It could be good. I could say it's good. Maybe on a rewatch I'll like it more actually, but who knows. Let me know your thoughts, of course. Always. Am I still recording? Yes, I don't. God knows how long I've been recording for. Bloody hell. this is going to be longer than the MCU one, I think. But it's just more hours of content to dive into, technically. So yeah, that's my excuse. Let's move on to the Punisher. Good. Oh wait, is that Punisher season 2? I think that's the Punisher season 1 poster. I don't think it matters, but sure. Good. I think this series got made, of course, with fan interest, and John Berthel was so good as Punisher in season 2 of Daredevil that he had to get his own show, and it lived up to the hype. It was a change. It really, I think I know what I want with a Punisher show, but I don't actually know the character as much as other characters, but I just like the concept of his ideology, but I don't actually know what his comics are like. But I think they reflected it really well here. I think they brought it back to another smaller scale, but also make it feel like the stakes are high, with the whole army dynamic of like trying to sort out the army corruption. Former general turned bad, just assassinating people, and Punisher needs to stop him with the help of a new hacker called Micro. Them two's relationship, man, it holds the show so much together, man. If that relationship doesn't work, it kind of falls by the waistline. But Punisher and Micro's relationship is so good. I like the tension between like Punisher hanging out with Michael's family as undercover. You think they're gonna do a jealousy subplot, but they kind of do, but they kind of don't. It's just really complex emotions, and they really delve with the Punisher's just psyche. Of course, his family got killed, and he just really plays on like it's always on his head, it's always in his head, and the only way he can get it out is if he just kills everyone in the most gruesome and brutal ways possible, and they really portray that as well. So good. And at the end, when he's getting tortured constantly, and he's just thinking about his wife, it's so good, man. So good. Action sequences are really good. I'm tempted to put a God tier, to be honest. But in some cases, the pacing's a bit off. In some cases, I think when they focus on like the CIA characters, it is a bit, and also like what's his name again, Jigsaw. Then when they focus on him before he becomes Jigsaw, it's a bit, the setup there's not the best. They could have done a better job in like integrating both storylines together. But so yeah, I'll say it's good. It's a great series, good series, but not God tier. But it's close. It's close to God tier, to be fair. It's close. Let's move on to Jessica Jones season 2, and I'll say that's good as well. Not as good as God tier season 1. I think that the removal of David Tennant kind of just really subtracts things, especially at the start of the season 2. But they really they try and make up for it for like development of like Trish, and for the most part it does work. I like that funny episode Cray Cray when she's like singing "I want you Cray Cray." That's my singing voice. That was a cool flashback episode. You really get the Jessica and Trish relationship. It's just, again, the villain isn't really there, but the whole point is that the villain is Jessica's mom, and they try and do a different approach than season 1. And in some cases, going away from that traditional villain, it kind of subtracts from the show. But also, I appreciate it for what it tried to do, and it did it mostly well with the whole Jessica mom subplot. I just didn't like the Trish angle to it all. I like how she kills the mom of Jessica. Like, I like how they explore that in season 3, the justification for that. But in season 2, when you watch it, it's like they just did this for purely shock value, and you don't understand why Trish would do such a thing, really. It's only until season 3 of Jessica Jones where you kind of understand where she's coming from. But when you watch it just season 2 by itself, it's a bit weird. Just they needed something big to happen, because they needed something to fill the void that Kilgrave left. But I like how David Tennant does come back, plays in her head. That's cool. It's a good series. The pacing's a bit off in some cases. They could have shortened it a bit, but I like the whole idea of Jessica trying to question herself in between saving her mom, running away from her. Well, saving her mom. How do you save your mom, who's come back to life? They didn't know she was alive. That was a cool revelation. And the whole aspect, her getting plastic surgery and falling in love with the plastic surgeon, and living a life trying to not tell us, can't. She knows Jessica's alive, but she can't reach out to her until now. That was so cool. They did that. Actress for Jessica's mom was really cool. Not unlike that Asian don't want to be stereotypical racist language, but I forgot the actor's name, but I think that other rival private investigator stuff, trying to like that rival private investigator to Jessica, who's like a typical misogynist and stuff like that into that season, was a bit, the acting wasn't the best there. It was a bit cheesy, to be honest, in that case as well. If you know which character I'm on about, apologies, bear with me. But no, Jessica really develops in the season. It's a good series. The villain, the whole villain model arc, like who is the villain, that was a cool thing. But the pacing's a bit off sometimes. Of course, some of the characters are not as developed again. But yeah, no, overall it's a good season. The good stuff outweighs the bad mostly. But it's not God tier. It's not season 1, unfortunately. Am I still recording? Yes, I am. Bear with me, lads. Luke Cage season 2.